Okay, nor do I, but it being 7:30, I'd like us to begin, and if he is able to join us, we'll bring him in at such time. So that said, in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and mailing to the officially designated newspapers a list of meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting would take place on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. via the Zoom platform. Due to the COVID-19 virus, Millburn Town Hall is closed to the public for the purposes of planning board meetings. The meeting notice contained information necessary for members of the public to attend the meeting through the Zoom platform, both by audio or video means. The public will have the same opportunity to participate at the appropriate times virtually, just as if they were attending an in-person meeting. This notice was posted on the Millburn Township website, Millburn Town Hall bulletin board, and Millburn Town Hall front door. Roll call, please.
Daniel Baer,
Here.
Gaston Halpert,
Here.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Here.
Mark Matzel,
Here.
Maggie Miggins,
Here.
Sanjeev Vinayak,
Here.
David Morrow,
Here.
Trini Vijay,
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Miriam Salerno,
Here.
Chairwoman Beth Zoll.
Here. Thank you. So before we move further into our meeting, we'd like to welcome and bring in the two planners we have from Topology, which is the planning organization, which is going to be serving and supporting our board. So if you want to go ahead, bring in Graham and Greer. And Mr. Buzak, I invite us to take action as appropriate.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. You may recall that at the beginning of the year, we usually swear in all of our professionals so that when they give testimony at the hearings, they are under oath. And I think that it would be appropriate for me to swear in both of the new planners. I know we're only going to have one here tonight for the duration of the meeting, but let's get both of them sworn in so that this way then we don't have to worry about that when we have a new application. So with that, Greer and Graham, can both of you raise your right hands, take yourself off mute. Do each of you swear that any testimony you will give tonight and in the future on behalf of the board is and will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you very much. You can put your hands down and welcome to the board. I know we've corresponded, so I think I know, I almost think I know you, even though I don't. So I look forward to working with you. Madam Chair, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thanks so much. And just for other folks on the board, you may have noticed that the letter from the planners was signed by Graham. He will be staying on tonight for the duration of our meeting, and as needed, Greer will be kept up to date and be engaged on lots of things going on in Millburn, and will attend these meetings as needed, I believe. Is that fair? I'm seeing nods from them. Okay, great. So thank you both for joining us, and Greer, if you have to drop off, that's fine. Thank you, Graham, for staying with us. That said, we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. We just have one set of minutes to review, which is the ones from July 7th of 2021. I don't know if Eileen, did you receive any additional comments or corrections on them?
I did not.
We only saw one version. Okay, did not. Did anybody have corrections or clarifications on the meeting minutes of July 7th? Okay, seeing none, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from July 7th?
So moved.
Thank you, Gaston. I will second. All in favor of approving the minutes of July 7th?
Aye.
Aye. Guys, any opposed? Thank you. And don't know if there's any abstentions. I think it looks like we were all in attendance. Okay, so meeting minutes of July 7th, 2021 are approved. We do not have any memorializations tonight. And we have two applications on the docket. We're going to actually hear them in the reverse order. Eileen, I believe I had notified you were the applicants made aware.
Yes, are we going to do the ordinances after both applications? How do you want to?
They
Just
are listed as, yeah, they are our business after, but I think we could
Okay.
go ahead and address them now. I'm fine doing that.
it doesn't matter, whatever you
Sanjeev.
think is easier.
I
Sanjeev?
believe I was not I have not attended July meeting, so not sure if I have to say that.
Thank you, Sanjeev. You were not there, so you can abstain from that. I appreciate the check. Sorry, I scanned too quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and look at the three ordinances that we have. Let's look at them. Let's handle them one at a time each. Mr. Buzak, if you are comfortable with that.
Yes, I am. And as you all know, since you've been through this several times, the review of this ordinance is similar to the review of other land development ordinances. The determination needs to be made whether it is not inconsistent with the master plan. It doesn't have to be consistent with it, but it just has to be not inconsistent with the master plan. You know that there's an historical element in our master plan. And generally speaking, without stepping into the role of planner here, generally speaking, these types of ordinances declaring these areas as historic landmarks or these sites as historic landmarks would generally be consistent with the goals and objectives in the master plan. But let me pass that to you. That's what you have to make a determination on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that intro. We received these from Eileen on September 17th. And so let's begin with the first in the order which they appear in the PDF, which is 2581-21 Parcel Family Cemetery, 358 White Oak Ridge Road. And the text reads, so as a refresher to all of us, we had received this a few months ago at this point for planning board review, just to provide any comments. It was not at the time an ordinance, but it was proposed to the township committee. They sent it to us for our feedback. We provided feedback saying we felt this was appropriate at that time. They've had now first reading on all three of these, as Mr. Buzak said, and now they're asking us to state whether we believe it is not inconsistent with the master plan, or if it is inconsistent with the master plan, and how so. So that said, my read of it is that it hasn't changed. They're literally asking to do, ordaining that section 1 is that this property is designated as a historic landmark, and 2, it shall take place upon final adoption. So I have no issue with it personally, but I open it up to anybody else's comments or interpretations or concerns. Okay, seeing none, we would have to take a vote on this one as well. Somebody would have to nominate it to be not inconsistent with the master plan.
That is correct.
Okay, would anybody make a nomination on ordinance 2581-21?
So moved.
I will.
Okay, Dan can have the motion and Maggie, you can have the second. if
Well,
you're okay with
I'll give it to Maggie and I'll second Maggie if she'd like.
Well, you're a good man, Charlie Brown.
There you go. So give it to Maggie. I'll second Maggie. Okay?
it. Great, Eileen, we need a vote.
Daniel Bear,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Yes.
Mark Matzel,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Sanjeev Benayak,
Yes.
David Morrow,
Yes.
Miriam Salerno,
Yes.
Beth Saul.
Yes. Okay, so regarding that, Eileen will send a note addressed to the secretary of the TC to state our findings that this ordinance is not inconsistent with the master plan. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2582-21, the Parcel House at 363 White Oak Ridge Road. It is the same designation, and I believe we similarly had the same previous conversation. I open it to anybody who may want to discuss or make a motion. Does anybody move to recommend this,
I
Ord-
make the motion to recommend
this ordinance as not inconsistent with
As
the
not
master plan,
inconsistent,
Jorge?
yes.
Okay,
I will
Thank
second him on that.
thank you, Miriam.
Daniel Bear,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Yes.
Mark Matzel,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Sanjeev Benayak,
Yes.
David Morrow,
Yes.
Miriam Salerno,
Yes,
Beth Zoll.
Yes. Thank you. So same as for the first, we make recommendation on the second. Our third and final ordinance for discussion tonight is 2583-21. This is the Hessian House at 155 Millburn Avenue. We had a bit more of a discussion about this one at the planning board level, but ultimately our recommendation was that our letter to the TC was that we found it not inconsistent with the master plan. We felt it did reflect the goals of the master plan and the historic preservation element, or the historic preservation components. But we recommended at the time the TC follow up with the owners directly, just to engage them in dialogue. Following that, my understanding, they then followed up, and they had the first reading at last Tuesday's TC meeting. It was 10 days ago now? Eileen, it was last week, right? It wasn't yesterday.
It was the last meeting. Yes, correct.
8 days ago. Okay. And so now it is before us, similarly as the others, to see our findings if it is or not inconsistent with the master plan. Comments or questions from the board? Mr. Bear.
So, Beth, you use the term, and I want you to define that they met with, you stated they met with, they had a conversation with. Can you define what the process was subsequent to our last decision to move this forward? Who met with whom? What were the conversations?
Right, so I hope I didn't misspeak. I don't
With that
believe, I didn't
follow-up
mean to
question.
say Matt, but I know there was correspondence. I think, per our last conversation when we had the owner at the time at our meeting, there was request to follow up with their attorney. And my understanding was that did happen. And I believe Hessian House communicated directly with the TC via attorneys as well.
Right.
And beyond that, I don't know if there was an actual meeting or not, but I know they have been engaged in the process, and they were
So what was
aware
the
that there
essence?
was.
So what was the essence of the correspondence? Because you made
That
it sound like it was a positive, everybody agreed. I just want to know what the essence of the correspondence was. From what I understand, it was an attorney letter back with concerns. That's what I understand. So if I could just understand what that process was, maybe Maggie or Sanjeev can enlighten us in terms of what has happened subsequent to our last planning board meeting.
It would
We
be my
actually-
Sure,
pleasure.
Sanjeev
It
or
would be my
Maggie.
pleasure.
Go ahead.
Sure. We had a Zoom call with the Mr. Valente, Mr. Hall, who is the attorney representing them, our own attorney, Andy Brewer, myself, Barton Ross, and Allison Canfield, head of HPC. So we had a Zoom call with them discussing what we were doing with the property. And their concern was the fees that would be associated with, because they're a not-for-profit, the fees that would be associated with applying for applications and extra fees. And they were talking about different work that they had done on their home, on the Hessian House. And it turned out that none of the work that they had done would have needed, they could have done a minor site review. So their concern, we allayed their fears with that in the sense that they wouldn't have had extra fees. That was one of their big things, were the fees. There was also talk of paint colors, but nobody can stop them from paint colors. And so that was back right after we all met. I guess we had met with them in the summer via Zoom call. And the attorney, Mr. Brewer's been still in touch with them. You know, I mean, if there's any, in fact, I even emailed back Mr. Hall and had not heard back from him.
So Maggie, doesn't seem like that there was any agreement between the owners of the Ashton House and the designation. There still is some concern over this designation, it sounds like.
I don't know, I can't speak for anyone, but what that call was, and the concern at that call had to do with fees associated with Historic Preservation Committee. That was their big discussion.
Okay.
So I can't speak to anything else. The only thing I can speak to is the fact that what we're doing is not inconsistent with the master plan.
Thank you, Dan, for that question. Any other questions or discussion points on the part of the board? Does anybody move to state that this ordinance 2583-21 is not inconsistent with the master plan?
I will do that.
Okay, do we have a second? Mark, I believe you are. You're just on mute, but you're seconding.
Yes, I'm seconding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel Bear,
I'd just like to state that I think this building fully meets the characteristics of landmark status. As a matter of fact, when I was on the committee, we actually moved to try to purchase this building to preserve it and also to grant it historic and landmark status. So I just want to make it clear that I do believe that it is a building that should be landmark. I still have issues with the process, so I will continue to abstain.
Okay.
yes, Ben Halpert,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Yes.
Mark Matzel,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes,
Sanjeev Vinayak,
Yes.
David Morrow,
Yes.
Miriam Salerno,
yes,
Beth Zoll.
Yes. Okay, so with that, the third ordinance will also receive the similar memo to the prior two that we discussed of the board finding them not inconsistent with the master plan to be sent back to the TC in the coming days. Thank you. That said, that's the business portion of our agenda. Now we will turn to the applications. Thank you for that recommendation, Eileen, and we'll begin with application 21004, minor site plan application, final and preliminary and final approval for Tonino Cigars LLC. And
I believe Mr. Fazio is the attorney on this matter.
Okay, good
Is it
evening, Mr.
Fernando who I need to bring over?
Yes.
That's what I thought, okay. And then I brought over your architects. Is there anyone else that needs to be?
I think that's it. Myself,
Okay.
Fernando Lopez, and the architect Osvaldo
Okay,
Martinez. Fernando, turn on your video. There we go.
good evening. Okay, if you'd like to begin.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson. We reviewed Mr. Peto's memo, and I think the variances that we're asking for from the parking and loading requirements under the zoning ordinance are warranted in this case. There won't be any substantial detriment to the public, nor will there be any substantial impairment of the zoning plan. This business, which is a local cigar shop, doesn't require any additional parking. There's one employee, which is Mr. Lopez, Mr. Fernando himself, and at this time, there's no other employees. And there's not going to be more than 3 to 5 customers at any given time going in and out of the store. Ideally in this neighborhood.
Mr. Fazio, I apologize. And Ed, let me know if I'm speaking out of turn. I guess it sounds as though you're giving us a little bit of testimony, and I just want to make sure if you're providing the testimony or if Mr. Lopez would be providing the testimony tonight. And Ed, I don't know if you want to jump in.
No, I think,
I
I didn't know if this was going to be just an introduction to the application. But I was about to do the same thing you did, so I appreciate you doing it. Mr. Fazio, I would just ask that we could swear in Mr. Lopez and your architect, Mr. Martinez, and you can question them and get that information on the record from them. Is that fair enough for you? Okay, Mr. Martinez
Sure.
and Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez, can you take your microphone off mute, please? Raise your right,
Hi, how you
both of
doing?
you can raise your right hands simultaneously. Mr. Lopez, you can raise your right hand. Raise your right hand.
Ooh, getting feedback.
I'm sorry, we are getting some feedback.
They must be in the same room. Yeah,
Or maybe I don't need that.
We're
See,
both in the
that's-
same room, so just,
that's fine. Then we'll be able to hear it through your microphone, Mr. Fazio. That's fine.
if you're on mute and you speak, they'll be able to hear you. So why don't you do the swearing in? Sorry, guys.
That's
That's
all right. Mr. Martinez, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear that any testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. Mr. Fazio, when he calls you, will ask you for your name, address, and credentials. But we'll do that later. If you could put yourself on mute, Mr. Martinez, I think. Mr. Lopez, can you take yourself off mute and raise your right hand? You swear that any testimony you will give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. Mr. Fazio, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, Fernando, you can stay on mute because they'll be able to hear you through my microphone. Okay. Mr. Fernando, what is Tinino Cigars?
Tonino Cigar is
No, I can't hear him.
Yeah, actually,
Can
if we
hear
could
him.
ask Mr. Fazio for you to mute and him to go off mute or switch or something, that maybe we could, apologies, but it's just, yeah, now Mr. Lopez can.
But then we're not going to be able to hear the question, I assume.
Right, we're gonna have the same problem.
I don't think jumping back and forth is going to work, so let us get next to each other for a minute.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's going to be too
That's-
hard.
that's
Fantastic.
fine. That'll work
Here.
fine.
problem solving in real time.
There you go.
Is this all right, guys? You
This
guys
is
are
good.
good?
Wonderful. Thank you for, yeah, accommodating our hearing.
All right. Mr. Lopez, what is Tinino Cigar?
Tonino Cigar is a retail place, a cigar shop. Bring a high-end cigar to the town.
And how many employees do you plan to have at the
At
location?
the moment, just me.
Do you plan on expanding that at any point?
No.
In terms of your daily operations, what are the hours of operation and what kind of traffic do you anticipate into the location?
It's 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's the operation hours. The traffic, I think, will be the same. Like it's in and out. People, 2 people at the time, in and out, nothing crazy.
How many total people, customers of the business do you anticipate being in there at any one given time?
I think like 3 to 4.
I'd like to go over the ventilation system that you have in the location for a second. Can you tell the planning board a little bit about what you've done to make sure that there's no odors or noise from the people that are sampling in your location?
Yeah, I look for the air cleaner, Blue Ox. That's the company, the best company I found for the ventilation air cleaner. They told me it's no noise, no smoke out of the building. Yeah, it's not required like nothing outside of the building, like the unit going to be inside the building. So it's no impact outside of the building.
In terms of the specifications of the unit, do you know the capabilities of this system versus what you're requiring in your facility?
No, I'm not sure about that.
Did you speak to the people at Blue Ox to make sure that this would be appropriate for the
Yeah,
size of
yeah,
the business you have?
Yeah. They know it's like 700 square foot in the area. They provide like 3 units for that area, the sampling area, and that they say it's enough. And they send me the video and everything will be.
So you plan to install 3 Blue Ox units in the sampling area?
Yeah. Because from the 700 square foot, that's what we need.
As far as the parking situation, where do you anticipate your customers parking, and how, where do you anticipate the customers parking that are coming into your shop?
Also, street parking.
How much parking is available in the immediate area, in case anybody on the board is not aware?
How many?
How many spots are available along the roadway by your business?
Like 20.
And do you anticipate that your customers are going to be some of the same people that are visiting the other local shops in the area?
Yeah. I hope so. It's like local people.
Okay, so when you are going to be supplying cigars for retail to the public, do you require any kind of loading area?
No, it's not necessary.
So please explain to the board what kind of product inventory you're going to be taking in, and how that you're going to receive that inventory.
It's like just cigar. Accessory is like the box of cigar is 20 by 20. So like local mail, nothing like FedEx or Amazon.
So you're going to take the deliveries from postal carriers and FedEx, UPS, and services like Amazon. You're not going to have any trucks or anything like that?
No, it's not necessary.
Madam Chairman, I think that we covered most of the information that the town planner brought up as being pertinent, and I'd ask if there's any further questions or anything that anyone would like me to elaborate on with Mr.
Great, thank
Lopez?
you. Yeah, so we could ask questions of Mr. Is it Mr. Lopez or Mr. Fernando? I'm sorry. Am I saying it?
Fernando Lopez.
Okay. I do have one
Lopez.
question. Is there another location? Are there other locations of Tonino Cigars? Is this an expansion or is this a new business?
New business.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then you talked about how you'll handle incoming products. What about garbage and refuse? Can you talk about how that would be handled?
The garbage, I think I don't have that clear. had to be like with the local garbage because I don't have nothing extra. Like it's like,
But Mr. Lopez, if there are people using the sampling area and they're cutting tobacco, or there are some items that are being discarded that might need special care, will you put a plan in place to address those items so that nobody is impacted by, that type of trash coming out of your facility?
maybe I don't know the locator of the garbage now. Well, I have to put it inside the building, in the back part of the building. I had the trash can. I'm waiting for the.
I think the chairwoman is just asking if you would put something in place to make sure if there was anything other than your normal paper and trash, that you would come up with a plan to take care of that and make sure that there was no problem with it.
Yeah, also for if this is I don't know if this is commercial usage, Eileen, maybe you could clarify how garbage is typically handled by our commercial tenants as opposed to like residential uses.
I believe they have to arrange for private hauling. That might be something that the landlord might have more knowledge of. I don't know.
Right, like
Here.
if the
I believe
landlord
they
has
have
a,
to, yeah, it has to be done through private hauling, which is probably done for that whole vicinity, all those businesses there.
right, the landlord of that building
Mhm.
may have a
Contract.
garbage,
Right.
yeah, the garbage, the thing in the back, the big.
Yeah. The building had that ready, the garbage in the back. The garbage can in the back.
Yes,
Building.
The dumpster.
the dumpster, thank you. Okay, so, but you haven't spoke about it or made arrangements, but if I don't know how the landlord handles it, so I didn't know if you had explored that and had a plan in place for garbage, but
Under the lease, the landlord, as part of the common charges to his tenants, requires them to pay something for the standard garbage removal and whatnot. I thought you were maybe addressing something more specific, but they had
no,
that.
I just the general refuse plan. What was my question? Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions for Mr. Fernando Lopez about the sort of the use and the building? Mr. Vinayak.
Hello, Mr. Fazio and Mr. Lopez, thank you for coming in today. I'm just trying to understand just some questions on the businesses. You mentioned that you'll be receiving cigars in a box, and there was some question in the inventory too. So my simple questions, first of all, have you done the cigar store in the past? Any experience?
The experience I have is with the smoking cigar every day.
Okay,
That's it.
so you're more of a
I have
consumer,
another-
now you're ready to sell it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand the inventory
I think
here,
just
and
to-
I'm also seeing your diagram where you have a sampling area. So I'm just trying to understand average cost per box. How much is that?
The average is like 200 square feet.
Okay, and how
Or
much of
even-
an inventory you're trying to carry at a time?
Um,
Well, Sanjeev, I'm not sure. I'm not meaning to cut you off. I'm just not sure if this line of questioning, just make sure we're asking questions about planning purposes, not sort of the business case. Is that, if that's
We are-
okay?
We are getting to planning because they're asking for environmental waiver here, and I'm just trying to understand how much
Okay.
inventory is there and their sampling area.
Okay.
So, and they also mentioned about that they only would need UPS and FedEx. That's how I started the experience first. And I'm just trying to understand that it is truly going to be FedEx or UPS delivering them, or if there is hundreds of boxes that are going to be inventoried, are they going to be in 100 different FedEx, or they're going to be in one truck? So getting there slowly, Ms. Chair.
I think this is a minor site plan, Sanjeev, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know that an EIS is,
And that's what probably I will get to, that,
Yeah.
okay, EIS is not required.
not for minor, yeah. Okay, no problem.
Just in terms of Mr. Vinayak, am I saying that right? Mr. Vinayak?
Yes, that's fine.
Just in terms of his question, right across the street from our office in Hoboken, there's a JR Cigars. I think there's a couple of them throughout the state. Mr. Lopez frequents their location, and some other retailers who don't do much sales, like, any kind of shipping sales. They just, have a inventory available to the public to purchase for carry out, which is what he's planning to do, versus somebody who, had a loading dock and they were taking in inventory and then, doing something to make packaging and ship out. He's not doing anything like that, just to clarify.
So that's, I understand that, Mr. Fazio, when there's a convenience store or a gas station close to my house and they get cigarettes, and it's not that it comes in FedEx, there is truck that comes in to deliver those cigarettes. They may be delivering a couple of cases to them. I'm just trying to understand the impact of the traffic. And that's where, when I hear that he's more of a consumer, I'm trying to gauge it myself. So when I vote based on the information that I have. Does that make sense?
Sure. So do you understand what he's
Yeah,
getting at?
I think the gas station have the truck because they only no delivery only for one gas station, the cigarette. They go gas station by gas station, so it's like 100 gas station. When I order something, it's just for me, 5 boxes, 10 boxes, so I don't need the truck.
Okay.
And he's ordering high-end specialty product versus something that's more volume-based. So that's why it would be shipped in that fashion versus, like a distributor that's going to multiple locations.
So next question would be sampling area. And I'm not a cigar smoker. Could you explain that sampling area? How will that work out? And
Can you help me with the sampling area?
Well, it would be better if you testify about it, but what he wants to know, well, it's kind of vague, but basically is how the sampling area is going to be set up and what it's going to be used for.
yes, I mean, if you're smoking inside there and
Osvaldo, can you help me please with that question?
Well, we're going to do him next as soon as the
That's
question.
okay. We can defer and he can answer that question
Yeah,
later.
because
as long as-
do you want to?
I can answer, but he can explain better the sampling area.
all right, I'll rest. I will ask my question later. It's okay.
No. He can jump in. Osvaldo, go ahead.
Sworn, hi, good evening, everyone.
Can you just state your
yeah.
name and business address for the record, sir, spelling your last name, and just give us a little bit about your credentials?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
100%. My name is Osvaldo Martinez, Martinez. I'm a New Jersey licensed architect for about 20 years now. Practice all types of architecture throughout the state of New Jersey, and I have appeared throughout numerous both planning and zoning boards throughout the state of New Jersey and New York as well.
Thank you, sir. And is your license as an architect up to date and in full force and effect?
Yes, it is. It's current.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. If you'd like, do you want me just to ask to answer just the sampling area specific question, or would you like me? I actually wanted to compliment your township planner, Mr. Petto, and his report, and I was going to go through it. It was very nicely done, and I was just going to answer some of his questions and go through it. So
Sure, go ahead.
the choice is yours.
Yeah, I think that would be our preference for you to give your explanation as you would like to. And then as long as you can make sure you touch on Mr. Vinayak's question, that would be fantastic.
I'll be happy to.
And if you, I don't know if you will be screen sharing, but we
Yes.
encourage that.
If you can, yes, I'll be happy to do that.
You should have the rights. Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
Do you have the plans in front of you?
We do, and I'm gonna just mention before you jump in, we like to label them, and Mr. Buzak has specific labeling preferences. I'll let you jump in, Ed.
Yes, we will mark this as Exhibit A1 as applicant 1. And could you briefly describe what this is, just for the record? I see it's sheet Z1, 1 of 1.
Zoning sheet 1, yes, 1 of 1. basically, it's just the upper left-hand corner. It's the zoning map of the township of Millburn, which indicates that we are in what Millburn calls the neighborhood business zone, B3, neighborhood business. Lower left-hand corner, it's just a tax map with a 200-foot radius map, which shows which properties needed to be notified within 200 feet of our site. Upper middle, we show an existing exterior view of the building. As we all know, this building has existed for years. I think it went through a renovation, exterior renovation at some point. We are not proposing any exterior changes whatsoever to lighting, to the storefront, to the awning system. What we do propose is a new sign, and that sign will be submitted and will fully comply to your sign ordinance there in Millburn. Just below that, the center of the sheet, we have the existing floor plan. Again, just to reiterate, this is an existing building with 2 commercial spaces. And we are currently talking about commercial unit B, also known as 515 Millburn Ave. So we'll get back to that. And then we have just some project data, upper right-hand corner. Lot and block, zoning district, hours of operation, which Mr. Lopez has gone through. Square footage, again, we're not changing, we're not adding, we're not taking away. So it is 1,813 square feet. And again, a zoning tabulation schedule, which is just basically your requirements for the B3 zone and what we're proposing. Again, as you see over on the right-hand column, everything is existing. The only thing that we're here for today, again, is parking and loading. And I think that both Mr. Fazio and Mr. Lopez have testified to the loading zone, which is not required for our particular use. All deliveries will be via UPS and FedEx, again, in small quantities. As we all know, cigars come in small boxes. So even if you ordered 10 boxes, it's something that will be delivered again, FedEx or UPS, which I'm sure is prevalent up and down Millburn Avenue every day. So it's just another stop or along the route there. Parking, I believe that this, from what I'm told, that this was previously an architect's office. And so the requirement there was 1 space per 250 square feet. They were required 7 parking spaces. The reason we're here is that because of this particular use, it's 1 per 200. We're required 9, so we're required an additional 2 parking spaces from the previous. My professional belief is that this will actually require less parking than the previous use. I'm assuming, well, I actually know that in an architect's office, you come in at 8, 9 o'clock, you're there till 5, 6, or for instance, tonight, I'm here in the office still till 7, 8 o'clock at night. You'd have a number of employees and you're there all day. We're here with a retail shop or this cigar shop, you're in and out. Most transactions, I would assume, are within a few minutes, 20 minutes. I know Mr. Lopez likes to talk a little bit, so it might be 15, 20 minutes. You buy your cigar and you're on your way. I'm also assuming that most of the people, not most, but a good number will be at the restaurants across the street or at the tile store next door and stop and get a cigar. So I don't think there's going to be a huge demand for parking, but that's just my opinion. Again, as far as the interior, we're not changing anything. The front of the store is going to be just straight retail. some humidors, which are just casework, freestanding shelving, so a checkout counter. And then we go into the back, which is what is known as a luxury sales area slash sampling area. This was a surprise to me. There are cigars that are up to $100, $150. So I understand that those cigars aren't just purchased, you're able to sample them. So I guess you would stand and or sit there and sample this $200 cigar before you purchase it. In that area, we are proposing what's known as a air filtration system or a precipitator. It's just something that is hung in the ceiling. It does not vent outdoors. It's a series of filters. The air goes into it, it cleans it, and then it just circulates out clean air in that sampling area. So we do not anticipate that there will be any cigar odor outside of this area. And that pretty much, again, but at the lower right-hand corner is a survey, an existing survey or site plan of the property showing the building coverage. And that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. And I hope that this has been a informing presentation for you.
Great, thank you. If I can ask you to stop sharing just so I can see everybody to take questions, and I guess, thank you. And Sanjeev, I'll begin with you. Did you feel that your question was addressed, or did you want to ask anything further?
My final question was addressed at the last statement, but I would still like to understand when you're saying there won't be any smoke getting out of the building and you're putting in some special system.
Yes.
Is there, and I've been through the documents, is there some document specifically you want me to focus on
Yes.
to really see the results, what is
Yes.
coming out in the air?
Great question. You can feel free. Whose report was this in? I believe there was a letter issued by Mr. Fazio dated September 24th, and I apologize if you do not have a copy of it. He clearly states the air filtration. I know it as a precipitation system. It's the Blue Ox air cleaner. I'll be happy to give you the model number if you like, and you can Google that. It's model number 0X1100-C as in Charlie, F as in Frank. And you will see that it's a self-contained filtration system.
Maybe a question to Martha, how does she feel? Or Ms. Callahan, how does she feel? Is that something that is good, or is that something that we don't know about?
I'm afraid that's a little not my area too much, Mr. Vinayak.
Okay.
Mr. Vinayak, Madam Chairwoman, if you want, I could share my screen and put the product literature up. Basically, just as a layman to explain how this item works. And there's going to be 3 of them in the shop, which will cover that square footage. It's a series of foam filters that filter any kind of smoke and catch it in the system. It has to be replaced every so often. And there's some air flowing through it, and it pulls, if there's YouTube videos that show how it works, it pulls all the smoke out of the air. So it doesn't hang in the air. It doesn't create an odor. It doesn't stick to any fabrics. If you were to smoke a cigar, as you're smoking it, it pulls the smoke out of the room and into the filtration foams, and then they can be discarded and replaced periodically. And it's a pretty simple thing. I can pull it up if anybody really needs to see it. I could even play the YouTube video. I don't think that we need to do that, but it's up to you guys.
As long as it doesn't impact the environment, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it sounds like it's an enclosed independent filtration system within the.
Self-contained, yes, specifically for this type of use.
Okay. Thank you for that testimony. Other questions
Thank you.
from members of the board for either applicant at this point? We've heard both witnesses, and Mr. Pietro, Jorge, you will go. And I just want to say for everybody who's listening in from the attendees, we typically have one witness and then take public questions and then a second witness and take public. Because we've sort of spilled in, we will open it up to questions from the public at the end or before taking any vote, and we will allow members of the public to ask questions of either witness. Sorry, Jorge, go ahead.
Yeah, so the first question goes to Mr. Lopez. And I don't know if this question is right for the planning board, but I'm going to ask this question as the liaison for the Environmental Commission. I just want to ask Mr. Lopez if he knows all the regulation from this town. Like, for example, does he know that plastic bags are banned here in this town, that you cannot provide plastic bags? I don't know if you can hear me.
Did Mr. Fazio, did you understand that question?
So I just want to know if you know all the regulations in this town about, for example, plastic bags, that you cannot provide plastic bags to customers. You know that, perfect. So now my second question goes to Mr. Martinez. And I didn't see any report from the fire department. My question is, this building has sprinklers?
No, it does not. It's a single story commercial building that does not require a sprinkler system.
So any combustible materials in the interior design, anything? Because of course, this is people are going to be smoking and anything could happen. So I'm wondering how is going to be the fire protection of the building.
I'm sure that for both insurance purposes and building code purposes, he'll be required a fire extinguisher. But according to the 2018 International Building Code, that building for that particular use does not require a sprinkler system. It's going to, again, it will be Mr. Lopez's vigilance there. He's going to have to, watch that and again, fire extinguishers. And I'm sure, for insurance purposes, there will be plenty of those. There is a smoke alarm that is required. So those, heat detector smoke alarms that are required. And these are all building code issues that I'm sure your building department will enforce once they come and do their inspection.
So going a little beyond that, any combustible materials inside in the fit out of this new retail?
No,
like carpet?
Not out of the ordinary. The humidors are just like your furniture at home with a sliding glass door. Nothing out of the ordinary. No, nothing to be concerned about.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fernando Lopez, let me just ask one question, then I'll call in next. Mr. Fernando Lopez, are you planning to host events like social gatherings or something so that people can sample? Like, will you host events to the public or private events in your space?
Planning any event or nothing like that. I just in and out, buy the cigar. It's like high-end store. I don't want parties, nothing crazy. No.
Appreciate it.
Just to
Okay.
relax.
Thank you. Mr. Buzek.
Yes, Mr. Lopez, and I guess Mr. Martinez, there's a staff break room in the back. Who would be using that if you don't have any employees?
I can answer that for you. It's an existing room. As an architect, I needed to add a name to that. It would probably be Mr. Lopez and his wife when she comes to visit. Just as a professional, I staff, and at some point, if Mr. Lopez gets another employee, it's just a place to have an under-counter refrigerator and a sink to store some water. just to rinse your coffee cup. That's all it's meant to be.
Okay, and in terms of the operations, I look at the architectural plans, you have sort of a front area, which is the retail area. And then you have this luxury sales area where you have the sampling and so forth. If there's only one employee there, how do you manage when you as Mr. Lopez, as the owner, is in the back taking care of somebody in luxury sales and they're sampling cigars? Who's watching the store, literally, so to speak, while you're back there? I assume the door is going to be closed, or even if the door is open, how do you manage that with one employee?
I can attempt to answer that, but that would be a better question for Mr. Lopez. But
Yes,
that partition is a glass partition, so Mr. Lopez will have full view of the full store at all times.
Yeah. And when somebody go to the store, they can walk around, pick whatever they want, any cigar, and at the end, you don't have to follow the people. Only they ask you, what is this? What is that? But you don't have to be walking around the people. You can be in the front, waiting for the people bring the cigar and pay for the cigar. One person is completely okay.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry, I've been on mute the whole time. Apologies. Graham, go ahead.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you. Just wanted to ask a few, just to touch on the ventilation system, which we've talked a lot about this evening. And thank you both for the testimony this evening. It's been very helpful, and we appreciate the time that you've taken to answer and respond. Just regarding maintenance of the system, it's, you've indicated that there's going to be 3 of these units installed in the sampling area. Do you have any idea on anticipated maintenance? Is this a monthly filter change?
Yes.
Biannual? So if you could just speak to that a little bit, I think that would be helpful.
That's a good question. Thank you for that, Mr. Petal. My understanding is, I know for a fact it's a system of filters very similar to an air conditioning system. So it's very simple. There's a side compartment that you open and you replace these filters. So you have some in storage, and then depending on the use, so it's very hard for me to say, every 3 weeks, every month. Just like your HVAC system, you start to see signs where it needs to get replaced. So that would, and I believe there's an indication light on there that would tell you when to replace them. So Mr. Fernandez would have to go up there, open up the, Mr. Lopez would have to go up there, open up the access panel and replace the filters. It's as simple as that. It's just replacing filters, just like a air conditioning system.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question on that. You did indicate that there is ventilation, that there is final exhaust of clean air to the outdoors. Will that be through the roof? Are there?
No, there is
not.
no,
Okay, it's contained within the building. Okay.
I'm sorry. That is all self-contained within that sampling area. There is no penetration of the roof, no exhaust outdoors, none at all.
Okay.
Mr. Fernando, just to add one thing to that, the system itself also comes with what they call a magnetic pressure gauge, which issues a warning light when you need to change the filters. It's not necessary to have a maintenance person do it. The owner of the system can do it themselves. And there's 3 different types of filters. There's the one I mentioned, which is the foam. There's a charcoal, and then there's a bag style filter as well. So it indicates which of those needs to be changed, and then you change them, and then the system is working optimally.
Thank you, Mr. Fazio. Thank you for clearing that.
Okay, other questions from the board? Mr. Bear.
I'm not sure who could answer this question, but I'm wondering about the sampling area. And is this in the operation? Is this a situation where somebody come in, buy a cigar or look at a cigar, try a cigar, buy it and leave? Or is this like more like a cigar bar where somebody will come, buy a cigar, buy 2 cigars, sit down, spend a couple hours at the store. I mean, I've been to cigar bars where you essentially buy a couple cigars and you can sit there for a couple hours and do that. So will there be any seating inside the sampling area, or what kind of activities are going to be promoted there? Is it just in and out, or is there an opportunity for somebody to come and spend a couple hours and you have a lot of people in there, coming together to take advantage of your great cigars and smoke for a couple hours?
I can answer that for you. I know that Mr. Lopez and I have spoken about this at length. The bigger cigar shops, the J&Rs, they offer food and other amenities. That is not Mr. Lopez's intent. He really wants people to come in, buy the cigar, sample it because it's so expensive, and leave. And he wants the next customer to come in. Just like any business, you don't want them lingering there very long. But that's his hope, that they come in, buy the cigar, sample it if necessary, and move on. And hopefully a new customer comes in. And again, just to reiterate, and I think Mr. Fazio did a great job in outlining it in his letter, I mean, this is just a cigar shop. You cannot come in here and buy cigarettes. You cannot buy vaping pens. You can't buy anything but a good cigar. And that's his intent, to make it a boutique cigar shop.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the board? Okay, at this time, I would open it up to if any members from the public have questions for either Mr. Lopez or Mr. Martinez, then you can use the raise hand function in Zoom and we would be able to bring you in to ask any questions you may have. Give it a moment. I'm not seeing any just yet. Okay.
I'm not seeing any.
I'm not seeing any as well. Okay, so thank you. All right, Mr. Fazio, I guess, did you have any further or closing comments or anything that you hadn't touched on that you had intended to? I didn't mean to jump it.
Not really. I just reiterate what I started out by saying in the opening, which is compared with the prior use, if anything, this is going to be less of a burden on the area. And it'll be a compliment to the local businesses that are already in the area. People that are out going to a restaurant can buy a cigar on the way home to enjoy when they get back home. So that's about it for us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members of the board, I open it up for discussion. Not all at once.
Just a question, and maybe this is for council. In the past, on these types of applications, we would ask the store owner employee to purchase a parking permit. I don't know if we've changed the way we do that. I know that we were going in different directions at one point in time. Sometimes we would, sometimes we wouldn't. What is the status of that now? Are we still asking employees, owners or employees to purchase parking permits? If we are going to be consistent where we once were, I believe we should be asking the owner and who is the one employee if he would purchase a parking permit. Because they are short 9 spaces.
I know, and I'm gonna ask for some help from Eileen. I know that in the B4 zone, we have that special ordinance that deals with this. I'm not sure, Eileen, if it covers all of the business zones or just the B4 zone.
That was, the parking waiver was only enacted for the B4 zone, so it
Okay.
has not, it's not for any other zones except the true downtown.
Okay, so I think, Mr. Bear, that's something that the board can certainly discuss. There is a shortage of 9 parking spaces versus the 7 that we had, or that the previous applicant had. On the other hand, I think we need to take into account the testimony that's been given, the type of operation, and while the standard may be what it is, I think the board has the ability to make a determination as to whether they want to impose that obligation on the owner. There are, as Mr. Fazio pointed out, 2 variances, and Mayor pointed out the parking space variance that we're talking about, and also the lack of a loading space are the two variances that the board needs to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate, I think, Dan bringing up this point, not just for this application, but also for how we as a board handle these applications, as a precedent. And you're correct. I think we generally have required not just a number per se, but I think we've been hearing each application and said, for all employees, we would require a business parking permit. So Mr. Fazio and Mr. Lopez, I just want to make sure you understand what we are talking about requesting, which is so that theoretically Mr. Lopez is not taking the parking spot directly in front of his shop, which you probably wouldn't want to do anyway. But that way it's you're allowed to then park in one of the permitted lots, which are, hopefully you're aware of. I know you had the zoning map up, so I don't know if you captured the parking lots in town, but they're publicly available, information on where they're located. Is that, are you amenable to that
Yeah,
condition?
yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. So I guess I open to the board, we would say 1, or we would say for each employee? If the business were to hopefully be a success and he needed 3 people on staff, I would argue they should each have a parking permit for when they're coming into town.
Madam Chairman, he's nodding his head that that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. Other concerns or issues? Okay, so council, because this is a minor site plan approval, I know there was the EIS, waiver request checked, but because it's not required, we don't have to go through the rigmarole of approving it, or am I
No, that's correct. We do not have to do that. So
okay, great.
It's just the board to consider whether to grant site plan approval and the 2 variances that were requested, the parking variance and the loading space. The condition would be, besides the typical conditions that we have, the requirement that the applicant purchase business parking permits for each employee that it will have. I think there was the issue with the trash. I think that was resolved. We could put a condition in that the applicant will be responsible to make arrangements to handle any solid waste trash. If that makes the board more comfortable, since it was a little bit vague in terms of what would happen there.
I think since we have a township ordinance and he would have to comply with the ordinance, I don't see a need to add a different condition about it. But if somebody feels otherwise, I'm open to including something on that. But I don't think personally that's necessary. Okay, does anybody move to do exactly what Ed said?
I move on that.
I will second that.
It's just protecting you guys.
Was that Jorge?
It was Jorge and then Miriam seconded.
Daniel Bear,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Yes.
Mark Matzel,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Sanjeev Benayak,
Yes.
David Morrow,
Yes.
Miriam Salerno,
Yes.
Beth Saul.
And I want to say welcome to the Millburn community. We're excited to have you. We are happy and thrilled to have new, diverse kinds of businesses coming to our town. I vote yes, and I say thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night to you, but not everybody else. Stay tuned. That said, no, we're doing great on timing. We have another application that's 21002. I'd like to request for myself and for everybody, why don't we take 3 or 4 minutes? Let's come back right at 8:45 and begin that application. If everybody wants to stretch their legs for a moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And Eileen, let us know when you're back. I know you may not be there, you may be.
I'm here. I'm just.
Great, thank
I'm-
you. Yeah, it's like you never know. It's like, if you would like to begin bringing in counsel for
Okay.
the applicants for the city MD,
This
and we
is,
can just have ourselves teed up and make sure we have everybody, witnesses that they needed.
all right.
And Eileen, did you ever hear from Joe Steinberg or no?
No,
Okay.
I saw the name before and now
Oh,
I don't see, I know the architect, I'm sure that's the architect. I thought I saw the The
The attorney use the raise hand function if you're here with us on Zoom, just so we could identify you. Ira Weiner.
Okay, I don't know why I have a different name. Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
And I believe this is their, let me just get their.
Hi there, you should be with us, Ira.
Okay.
Could you just tell me the professionals I should bring over?
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I have Brigitte Bogart,
Okay. And
Bruce Fish, Brian Natal,
a big group.
well, I brought a lot of witnesses. If the board's happy with less, we can go quickly. And I think Frank Kim from Concept Architecture and Design Group.
What's the name?
I think it's Frank Kim.
I have a Kenneth Yim. Oh, no, Kenneth Kim.
Kenneth Kim, that would be
Okay.
correct.
My eyes are not working.
Well, there's one of two people. I wasn't sure which one was going to be here tonight.
Okay. And I think everybody is back.
Okay, great. I don't see Martha yet. Sanjeev.
Martha and Sanjeev. Nicole is here. She's just not here.
Yeah,
yet.
that's okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I can see the members of the board before we begin with the application. So let's just hold for one moment until our full board is back. We need Sanjeev. Okay. I don't want to have to start without Sanjeev, but we may have to just to keep our meeting going. I don't know if anybody's able to ping him. Kind of the okay. Well, let's begin. I don't want to hold us off anymore. And
Let me try to, I do have.
You do have his.
Sanjeev's.
Oh, Srini, it looks like you're trying to just contact him.
Yeah, I'm calling.
Thank you so much. Okay.
I would ask that we wait because if he misses some of the testimony, then.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really don't want to.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to vote.
He'll be here. I just spoke to him. He'll be here in a couple of minutes.
Thank you. A couple minutes? I know it's not your fault. You're the messenger. I will say our planning board, as we began at 7:30, we usually go till about 10:30. So if we get to that point and we haven't yet taken an action, we may carry. I hope that we can hear your application in full and make a decision on it tonight. But I just want to let you know, we sort of collectively turn into brain mush, after about 3 hours of sitting here. So let's see how we can do. I would love to get through your application tonight.
Well, I have a lot of people, but it's not that, the testimony is not that extensive. Hopefully.
Okay,
we'll be
I
able
just
to-
wanted to, I didn't want to catch you by surprise.
I've played board before, so I know how it goes sometimes.
Fantastic. Okay.
While we're waiting, Madam Chair, if I might, there was reference in the previous application to a letter that the attorney had sent. I think the architect had referred to it and maybe the attorney had referred to it. I don't have that letter. Does anyone?
I don't have it as well. I looked through the folder. I did not see that letter, so.
I don't have it as well. And I also heard him date it September 24th, which is in the future. Oh, 4th, you said.
Okay,
I heard 24th, which I
heard 24 as well.
I
looked through the folder. I did not see anything. I'll touch base
September-
with them tomorrow.
Yeah, September 24th is in 2 days. So
I would appreciate it. I mean, it's not part of the record, but there was reference to it, and maybe some information that will help us in terms of doing the resolution.
okay, and it looks like Sanjeev is back, but now we've lost Dan and
Srini and Dan.
Okay. Once we
I'm
have-
sorry.
Here's Dan.
It's okay, thank you. Just
Beautiful.
try to keep us.
Okay, we have everybody.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed. Sorry for the delay. Council.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, board members. My name's Ira Weiner. I'm with the law firm of Beatty Padavano in Montvale, New Jersey, and I represent the applicant here, City MD and Summit Group. I know the board's, I'm sure, has looked at the materials and is familiar, but generally speaking, this application is to occupy what was formerly the Walgreens building, about 17,000 square feet, to be divided into two parts. One is a walk-in urgent care center for City MD, and for Summit Health Group, a specialty medical practice. Rather than me waste a lot of time with introduction, let me just get to the witnesses who can explain in much better detail exactly what we plan. Other than that, we need site plan because we're making some minor changes to the exterior and a variance in terms of the size of the letters on the sign, which is not greatly different than what's permitted, but it is over the maximum, and we do need a variance. So without further ado, I would call Brian Natal if he can be sworn in.
Mr. Natal, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that any testimony you will give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Can you put your hand down? Can you state your name and business address for the record, spelling your last name?
Sure. Brian Natal, last name spelled N as in Nancy, A-T-A-L-E. Business address 1 Diamond Hill Road, Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, 07922.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Weiner?
Thank you, Council. Mr. Natal, what's your relationship to City MD and Summit Health Group?
My relationship is I've been employed with them for approximately 14 years. For the first 13 and a half years, I was employed in the capacity of Vice President of Operations, Security, Real Estate, and Construction. And for about the last 4 to 5 months, I am now just the Vice President of Development and Design Construction Services. As we've grown, I've focused my area of concern. So I am the Vice President of Construction and Design Services for the organization.
And in that capacity, you're fully familiar with what the plans for the Walgreens space are, am I correct?
You are correct.
Why don't you give the board an overview of a little bit about what we're planning in terms of what City MD does, what Summit Health does, and what the plan is for use of the space.
Sure, absolutely. So just a brief overview of the organization first. Good evening to everyone tonight. Summit Health, previously known as Summit Medical Group, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. We are now rebranded as Summit Health. City MD is also a subsidiary company. We are the parent company, and it's one of our brands under our organization. So Summit Health, City MD, Summit Medical Group, essentially all the same organization today, all branded under Summit Health today. This location is located at 800 Morris Ave. It's approximately 13,000 square feet. We do plan to have both City MD branded services as well as Summit Health services at this location as well. It'll be split down. It is a 13,000 square foot parcel. It'll be split by approximately 3,000 square feet of the City MD side, and the Summit Health side will be approximately 10,000 square feet.
Okay, and the City MD is an urgent care walk-in type medical facility?
Yeah, correct. So the City MD side will be a walk-in, no appointment, urgent care facility. The Summit Health side will be multi-specialty by appointment only. The services that will be housed in that section of the facility will be dermatology, primary care, and physical therapy. Those will be the three services that are housed on the Summit Health multi-specialty side, and on the side where the City MD is branded with a separate entrance. As mentioned, it is a walk-in, no appointment, urgent care clinic.
Why don't you, what are the hours of operation? I know boards generally are interested in that information.
Hours of operations for the City MD side of the business will be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The Summit Health side of the business and parcel will operate Monday through Friday, generally 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If I can get doctors to work to 8 p.m., we win. But that would probably be the maximum. Saturday, 8 a.m., generally till 1 p.m., limited services. We usually have doctors work 1 weekend a month, and the hours would be 8 to 1 on Saturday. And Sunday, the Summit Health side would be closed, no business hours whatsoever.
Okay, I have a couple of questions that are going to sound a little out of joint, but they were raised in the planning report, and you're the right person to answer them. So while we have you, I thought I'd ask that. There is a loading space here, am I correct?
You are correct.
And normally, in many of your facilities, you don't even have that. You don't usually use that, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We have approximately 250 facilities across 3 states. I would classify our facilities as small, medium, and large. This would be a small project in our books, and none of our small locations have a loading dock area. So the fact that this facility actually comes with an existing loading dock area is just an added benefit to us, but it's not necessarily needed.
The planner was concerned just in terms of information for the board. What frequency of loading deliveries? I assume it's pretty small in this kind of facility, but what do you anticipate?
Correct, very small for this type of facility. Typical deliveries that we would receive would come in UPS, FedEx, US Postal Service, no different than any other business in the town. The other deliveries or pickups from the facility, which are very, very low frequency, would be, for instance, our biomedical waste, which is picked up by an outside biomedical waste company. Based on the volume at this location, I would anticipate that to be probably once every 2 weeks, maybe once a week, and that's just one truck, 10 minutes, they walk in, they walk out. The other type of deliveries would be a linen delivery to the location. Again, based on the volumes here, I would anticipate that to be once a week, where they would pick up, usually early morning, dirty linens and drop off fresh ones. Other than that, everything is pretty typical of any other business, where they're getting, normal UPS deliveries. The only other thing I could think of off the top of my head would be our shredding bin pickup. And again, the frequency of that is extremely low. This, again, with the volume, would probably be a pickup once every 2 weeks. One truck, 15 minutes in and out.
So significantly less loading and delivery activity than the Walgreens that was there before you. Is that correct?
Significantly less, correct.
Okay. Also, there was the planner raised a question about any lighting past 11 p.m. Do you anticipate having any lighting ongoing beyond that time?
We don't. If the board asked us to keep the lights on 24/7, we'd be happy to do so. But I do believe there is an ordinance in town which restricts it to 11. So the answer is we would comply with the ordinance that is in place.
All right, that's all I have for Mr. Natal. I turn over to the board for any questions that the members may have.
Thank you. I just want to make one point of clarification, Mr. Natal. It may be you or maybe the architect. You mentioned 13,000 square feet. It states 17,000 in your application. I think that's what Mr. Weiner said as well. So I guess when the architect speaks, if we can just confirm the actual square footage.
Yeah, let's confirm with the architect that one.
Fantastic. Okay. Minor, but I just want to be consistent. Did anybody else have questions for Mr. Natal based on his testimony? Okay, seeing none, I want to ask members of the public who may be participating tonight if anybody had a question for Mr. Natal. Raise your hand, please. Okay, not seeing any. I welcome you to continue on with your application.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ed, I didn't see you.
Oh, I was late. I was late to the dance here.
Okay, you're still invited.
Thank you. Mr. Natal, are you the proper witness with regard to the number of employees, the number of doctors, number of other staff that would be there? Is that someone else who would be testifying about that?
Yes, I can provide information if you'd like about that. Yes.
Yes, I think that would be helpful to the board.
Certainly. This site is very much in line with the 5 other facilities that we do operate in Millburn. This will actually be our 6th. So the services that will be located in this complex, I can go through it. So on the City MD side, we approximate about 6 staff members on a given day for the City MD side. For the Summit Health side, it's approximately 20 staff members. So that's providers and regular staff. So for the entire site, we're looking at approximately 26 staff members on a daily basis at both locations. I can break it down on the Summit Health side by service. We have dermatology, which will be present, physical therapy, and primary care. We anticipate that there will be 2 dermatologist providers, 2 primary care providers, and 4 physical therapists. It would be great if we can have them there all at the same time. In a perfect world, it probably won't happen. But again, when you add all of that up, it would add up to 20 staff members total for the Summit Health side.
Do you have any idea or anticipation of the number of patients that may frequent the facility, again, breaking it down into the Summit Health portion and the City MD, given your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, with the number of facilities that we run, we can easily anticipate and provide numbers for each service, by the hour. So the City MD, a typical day would see 3 to 4 patients per hour come through the door. 4 patients per hour would probably be the maximum. On the Summit Health side, I'll break it down by department, because each department is a little bit different the way they operate and volume wise. The dermatology department with 2 providers, we would anticipate and forecast that it would be approximately 8 patients per hour at a maximum. The primary care side with 2 providers would be 4 patients per hour as a maximum. And the physical therapy, a little bit different type of a service. It's not your typical exam room, housing of patients. So the numbers are slightly different, but it would be 4 physical therapists. And based on the number of physical therapists, it would be 4 patients per hour for there. Total per hour would be 20 for the Summit Health side. So if you add up 20 for the Summit Health side. So if you add up both the city side and the Summit side, you're looking at about 24 patients per hour through the facility.
I thought you said,
Yeah,
I wrote down 8, 4, and 4. That adds up to 16.
Correct. And then you add the 4, I'm sorry, that's not including the City MD. Add the 4 to the 16 for the City MD side, for a total facility of 20.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I have nothing further, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Other questions for Mr. Natal? Okay, thank you.
Alright.
Seeing none, we can move on. Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Mark Metzel has a question. Sorry, I'm going too quickly.
Yeah, just really quickly, would this be the time to ask about the HVAC system or bipolar ionization they may use? And the second part of that question is, will you be testing for COVID, things like that?
So I'll defer the HVAC question to our engineer professionals who will testify later, architects and engineers. The COVID question, the answer is yes. Our city MD is certified to test for COVID and would be able to offer COVID tests to the community. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks. Other questions? Okay, go ahead and move on. I
All
see
right.
Mr. Metzel's
Okay.
hand is up, but I think that was your question.
Okay, I'll move on to our architect professional, Mr. Yim. Who was here before, I don't see him now. Oh, there he is. Mr. Kim, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Kim is here, so we'll have you be sworn in if you can come off mute, Mr. Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Kim. Can you please raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear that any testimony you will give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. Can you please state your name and business address for the record, spelling your last name?
Sure. And my name is Kenneth White Kim. My business address is 185 Bridge Plaza North, Suite 205, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I've been practicing as a licensed architect in New Jersey for about 18 years. In testimony and presentation in various areas in Bergen County. And I am the architect of record of City MD in Summit.
And is your license current?
Yes.
Okay, I'd offer Mr. Kim as a licensed architect.
Thank you. We'll hear him as such. Appreciate it.
Okay. Mr. Kim, could you basically give a brief description of the premises, square footage and such, so to give the board a context for the rest of your testimony, please?
Okay, more than happy to. Basically, I think the space, if I could share the screen, it will be more.
Yep, that would be great. Yep. And as we did with the last application, I don't know if you were on for that, but we will have you label exhibits starting with A1 when you do it, if you can, for our consistency. So go ahead and begin sharing and we'll step you through it if needed.
Okay. Are you able to see?
It's coming up. Oh, yep, we can.
Great. I would just briefly start with all 5 lists of a presentation set, and I'll go back and explain in detail. That would be most comprehensive.
Okay, what we'll do, Mr. Kim, just to make this quicker, I think, is is it correct that the sheets are numbered PB1 through PB5?
That is correct.
Okay, well, we'll mark them A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, corresponding to your numbers without the prefix. We'll have an A instead of a PB. And why don't you then proceed with that?
So, this is PB1, basically zoning information with the chart and parking chart. And let me just go over quickly to in summary. PB2 is existing condition of floor plan for the premise that we are occupying. And PB3 is our proposed layout with the various demise spaces. And PB4 will be existing elevation as we surveyed. And PB5 will be proposed elevation with signage at the last page. So going back to the first page, the zoning information. This is the beauty of the zoom in, zoom. So I could zoom in for you a little bit for everyone's benefit. Basically, it's a gross square foot of 17,139 square feet that we're using. And the zoning district that we are in is B-2. We will probably go into parking issue later, but I would like to focus my presentation on the components of the spaces and how it's demised. I hope I'm not moving too fast for everyone. Let me know.
Nope, I think this is okay. Thank you.
So the space is basically divided into CDMD side.
And now, I'm sorry, Mr. Kim, we're talking about what we've marked sheet A3, is that correct?
That is. Given the existing floor plan, we are dividing into 7.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Mr. Weiner, if it's okay if you mute yourself, because I think we're picking up your noise instead
I'll
of.
do that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
So in summary, the space is divided basically into a bottom portion is a 3,200 approximately square foot of CDMD space. And then remaining area will be summit area, which will be divided into sort of 4 different parts of a CDMD functions. And just going over briefly on CDMD, which is a typical layout that we propose, is basically 10 exam rooms with a center corridor and a reception at the front. How is that? Okay.
Can you point that out, Mr. Kim, on the drawing, just using your cursor?
Yeah.
It's
So
oriented here.
can you see if I drew this way? Can you make this thicker, Frank?
Yep, it appears in red. Thank you.
So this will be the waiting area where the customer comes in waiting for the queue. Reception desk is here. And once they are signed in and registered and ready, this will be the various of exam rooms, the common share public toilets here. And then basically it's functioning in a way that exit in the back, main spine corridor with the various exam rooms, MA stations, exam room, the sort of restroom in the back, X-ray room here. And these are all divided into each exam rooms and storages. So it's a very simple, and this is atypical CDMD layout that we do in various locations. Only thing that it may be different is that it's connected to the back service area that we are using basically as existing conditions with mezzanine above. Now this space is, because it's one building, I like to outline that everybody's concerned about egress and safety and so forth. So the main entries is one here for Summit. CDMD will be on this side. And you could see that it's sort of looped in as a one building function for various locations of exit. Exit here, and actually 2 exit in the back. Now, the Summit side is subdivided into various physical therapy will be here. Dermatology will be here. Right, and PC will be here. And this, once the customer comes in, this is the main hall awaiting area with the reception function facing the customers come in. It's a very generous space in the front, about 1,900 square feet, and basically is queued in for different functions to the service. And basically, this is a main architectural layout. We do have a mezzanine space above that is mainly used for storage. And let me quickly go to elevation that we're proposing, which is, this is basically inherent or existing elevation that we have. And we are basically proposing into, since we have 2 functions, Summit Health and CDMD, the main facade and the profile of the building is reused without much of a sort of, should I say, any expansion. And then we are trying to mimic the look of it by having a CDMD entry design that is similar. And this is a sort of proposed design for it and the signage. And of course, the side of the building, CDMD signage. That is a general summary of our proposed layout and functions.
That's great. Are you going to speak to the variance on the signage, or is that not you?
Yeah, we have a signage consultant that will be testifying.
Oh,
at the-
okay. Thank you. And did you clarify the total square footage?
Yeah, clarification is it is a gross 17,000 square feet.
Fantastic. Okay.
And I'll just add in, I did review my plans here. I missed the back of house area, which comprises 4,000 square feet. So it's 10 for Summit, 3 for City, 4 for the back of house. That's what I
Okay,
left it out. So
that
it is
makes sense.
17,000.
It all adds up. Thank you. Mr. Kim, if I could ask you to unshare so I can see the board a little better, and then I can see if there's questions for you.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Anybody have questions for the architect? None.
Madam Chairman, I have one other question. The planner raised some question about additional lighting in the exterior, I gather. Are we planning any additional changes to the lighting?
I'm not aware that we're doing any proposed additional lighting.
Okay, so it's what's existing now is what's going to remain.
That's what I believe so.
Okay. And the last question was the chart you had up. There's based upon the shared parking in the shopping center, there are 86 spaces were allocated to Walgreens that we will have allocated to our use also. Am I correct?
That's how. Yes, that's how I was told. Yes.
Okay. That's all, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I want to leave it for the board if there's any questions for the architect, and if not, Mr. Bear, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification on the parking table that was spoken to earlier. The second table is entitled Plans at Short Hills Analysis, Proposed Conditions as an Instructional School Studio. Is this just mislabeled?
I believe it's mislabeled. This is the list of functions and existing information to our site engineer. So if there's any clarification or omission, I could double check with.
No, I'm just talking about how it's labeled. It's mislabeled, correct? We're not talking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I was gonna ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for the architect? Okay, any members of the public who have questions? Oh, Ed, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think Mr. Matzel, I don't mean to preempt him, but I think he or someone asked about the HVAC system, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Matzel? And they said they deferred to the architect on that, or am I already confused with the other application?
I think
You're correct on this one, Ed.
I thought they deferred to the engineer, right?
No,
The system that we are proposing was under HVAC system. I'm aware of ionization system that the council, the member is raising, and that will be additional sort of plug-in system to a current proposal. We do not have that in place right now.
Yeah, out of curiosity, have you considered that? Because my understanding is that that represents more of the state of the art, where it basically is conjoined into the HVAC system, and it becomes more effective in reducing viruses, including COVID. It's
Yes.
Right.
I'm more than happy to consult with my clients and see the sort of options, but I am not aware. I'm not fluent in that system, so I cannot tell you one way or the other.
But you'll look it up, though.
well, we're happy to take a look at that. Obviously, this is a lease, so that may we went with the plug-in systems that we know that will work that we can put in, and we'll have to see if it's feasible, and talk to the landlord also as to what we might do. But it's a good point. We're happy to consider that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Do any members of the public have questions for the architect? If so, use the Zoom function to raise your hand and we can bring you in to ask any questions you may have. Okay, seeing none, I invite council to continue on.
All right, I would call Bruce Fish, who is our sign expert, and can discuss the signage.
Okay, Mr. Fish, let's have you sworn in.
Sure.
Do you swear that any testimony you will give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and business address for the record, spelling your last name.
My name is Bruce Fish, F-I-S-H, Signal Sign Company, 105 Dorsa, D-O-R-S-A, Dorsa Avenue, Livingston.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Reiner?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fish, you designed the signage for this project, am I correct?
Yes.
Do you have, you want to have any elevations and pictures you want to put up? And maybe it's easiest for the board to see what you're talking about.
Sure, if we can do that. Does this work on an iPad? Can we share on an iPad?
I believe it should. If you can see if you tap on it, there should be a share screen, green icon.
Screen.
Here we go.
Okay, you see it, I don't.
Well, it says you are sharing your screen. Everything on your screen will be recorded. I don't think we're seeing what you want us to see. You are sharing screen. Oh, there I am.
How about this? That work?
This is better.
You need to click on the right one.
There we go.
There we
Yes.
go.
Got it.
So,
We are
Mr.
currently looking at some elevations. So if we could, I think we're going to
You can
label
see
these.
the drawings and everything?
Yes,
Okay,
we'll
good.
mark
All right.
this one A.
So,
Excuse me,
this,
Mr. Fish, I'm sorry. Well, let's mark
Yep.
this exhibit A6. And you were just about to explain what this was. Or is.
right, and I'm sorry that I didn't number things in logical order because things got added. So this will be SK1 is going to be A6.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll keep a record of that. Okay, so what we're looking at here are the new entrances. That the new entrance that's being created for City MD, the entrance for Summit Health. This is on the eastern elevation of the building, and then beneath that, the partial side elevation is the south side of the building. So these are all individual letters. They are halo illuminated letters, backlit, not face lit. No lighting comes out of the face of them. So everything is internal LEDs and illuminated that bounces off the building itself. This is just a larger plan, same idea, as showing the net signable area that's required by the code. We're utilizing approximately 3% in total of the front elevation and 3% of the side elevation for signage. So we're going to call this is 1A, which is going to be A7. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The next, and all of these pages should be in your package. This third page here, which is our SK2, which we're going to call A8. These are just some further details which show the colors, the detail of the signs themselves, and the actual sizes of each of the elements that we are proposing here. The City MD sign, again, on the east elevation being 30 inches high, which exceeds the allowable 24 inches. The Summit Health sign, 36 inches high at the logo, and it is actually about 24 inches high at the Summit Health letters. And then the 36-inch high City MD Urgent Care at the southern elevation along the larger facade there. What I've also done is prepare, because we surveyed this site, just for everyone's reference here. This is what Walgreens had previously on these two elevations, or on these two sign facades. We'll call this is my SK0, which will be A9. And I apologize for my unusual numbering system. So the Walgreens had a series of individual letters. These were red-faced, plastic-faced letters, facelit. So much more of an intense illumination. And although there were only two signs, the two signs each consisted of about 260 square feet each, total of 520 square feet. We're doing a total of 197 square feet for the two sides. So we're greatly reducing the existing or previous tenant amount of signage, and the lighting is considerably more subdued, as it's a backlit, halo lit situation as opposed to red facelit. And so what we think we've proposed still works for our client to get people to the spaces, but also, you know, approaches the code of the town. I've got one more exhibit, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions. This is what it would look like at code. So this is based on a 24-inch. We'll call this A10. So these are, if we had to meet the 24-inch code, that's what the signs would look like on these facades. So if I can quickly go from here to there, that's the difference between what we're proposing and what the code would mandate. That's all I got.
Okay, Mr. Fish, how does the size of the sign, the lettering that we're proposing compare, if you took a look, to the King's sign on the building right next door?
Sure. So I had the pleasure of being before this board back in 2015 to present the King's variance proposal. These signs are, as I said, 36 inches or 30 inches. The King sign is 47 inches at the whisk and 40 inches high for the letters for Kings. The King sign also was a change from the pre-existing plastic face that had lighting coming through the face to a halo illumination. So these proposed signs are in concert with the King sign, both of which are going to be proposed as halo illuminated signs.
All right, and as far as if you had the as per code elevation that you prepared,
sure.
Did you have any sense of, as somebody that does signs all the time, the visibility of that, considering its location and orientation from the roadway and elsewhere?
So it's very difficult to see a sign at this size based upon the road that we're dealing with here. Marsh Turnpike is a high-speed road, traveled very well, traveled very quickly. The south elevation, you're approaching from the west, traveling east. So you're looking at it across the road, which is why that's the largest of the three signs. That's the partial elevation that you're looking at there. And the other two are set within the property. You approach this, from the east, traveling westbound. You need to see this to enter the site with ample time to turn in. There is a small monument sign that's not shown here, but that is literally at the entrance. So you need to the whole idea is to be able to recognize where you're going to at a safe speed and safe distance, so you can slow down and enter the property, safely.
And as in your expertise as a sign expert, do you feel that the size that's being proposed is compatible and consistent with the building and the surroundings?
I do.
All right, and you feel that what we've proposed is a better alternative in terms of visibility for the cars as you've described it and travelers?
I believe it's a safer and better approach, yes.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further, Madam Chairman. I turn it over to the board for questions.
All right, I appreciate that. Thanks. Mr. Fish, yep, thanks. Exactly what I was going to request. So I can see members of the board that may have questions for you regarding the lighting and the size. Any questions? Ms. Jorge, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want to ask, but not to the applicants, maybe Eileen or somebody knows, when the King's Supermarket sign was approved?
2015.
2015. Did we change the ordinance for signage a few years ago? After that, no. So that was approved also through a variance, right?
Well, Mr. Messer Pietro, I'm not sure that, and Eileen can help me out here. I'm not sure that the Kings was before this board for that sign. I have a feeling they may have been before the Board of Adjustment.
They were before the Board of Adjustment.
Okay,
Should
so
be for a
that's,
sign variance.
and they just came in solely for that.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Messer.
No, that's fine. I'm okay for now for more questions. That's fine. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Fish? Okay, Ed?
I don't want to preempt the board, so I just want to make sure.
No, I appreciate it. That's fine.
Mr. Fish, from your perspective, will there be any detriment to the public good in terms of having a larger sign here than the conforming sign?
No, I would say no detriment whatsoever. If anything, it's advantageous from a safety point of view.
And how about in terms of the overall zoning plan or master plan of the township? Do you see any substantial impairment of the zoning ordinance or the zoning plan?
This is a pretty unique building in the way it's set, and we've already had the King sign, which already has a sign that's actually larger than these, and it certainly hasn't impacted anything from a zoning perspective. No.
And if I understood your testimony earlier, it was that among other things, there's an advancement of safety issues in terms of the size of the sign and the location of the building on a very busy street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you addressing the C2 variance requirements. Which the planner also, Graham mentioned in his report too. So thank you for that attention.
I'm going to present some planning testimony from a planner also.
Oh,
So
wow.
That's why I didn't ask the questions, Ed. So
I was
but
waiting.
okay.
I wasn't sure, so that's why.
No. Yeah, I have a planner.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, further questions from any other questions from the planning board for Mr. Fish before we potentially hear from our planner? Okay. Any questions from members of the public for Mr. Fish for the testimony on lighting? Just go ahead and use the Zoom function to raise your hand at this time. Okay. Seeing none, then I will turn it back to Mr. Weiner.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Madam.
I would call Brigitte Bogart.
Okay, she's here.
Yes, I can see her.
Yeah. And so
Brigitte,
Brigitte, if you
that's
just
on
come off mute, we can have you sworn in.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that any testimony you will give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Can you please state your name and business address for the record, spelling your last name?
Burchett Bogart, Bogart. Business address is 205 Franklin Avenue in Wyckoff, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Ms. Bogart, could you give the board the benefit of your professional credentials?
Sure. I have a bachelor's in environmental design in architecture from North Carolina State University. I have a master's in city and regional planning from the University of Pennsylvania. I've been a licensed professional planner in the state of Jersey since 2001. I was a partner with Burgess Associates in Westwood until 2012, and then I started my own firm, so almost 10 years ago.
And your license is currently valid, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would offer Ms. Bogart as a expert in professional planning.
Thank you. So Ms. Bogart, you have a PP. Do you also have AICP?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, and that's current as well.
Correct.
Thank you. We'll hear you as a planner. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bogart, could you give the board, you were retained for the purpose of giving testimony concerning the overall planning aspects of the site, but with particular attention to the sign variance. Could you give the board what you did to review the matter and your professional opinion?
Of course. Not to belabor all the testimony that's gone on this evening, but obviously this board now is aware that this is an oversized site. We have a unique site. We're set back from the roadway. We are replacing a sign that is currently oversized, and we're actually reducing it. So we're improving the nonconformity. The Walgreens letters alone, as you just heard from our sign expert, is well over 4 feet in height, and we're reducing that. And the variance that we're requesting this evening is for 6 inches. We comply with the sign area requirements. It's just the height itself. And I think this board can see, based upon the elevations provided by the sign expert, that the proposed sign is in keeping with the scale of the facade itself. If we were to comply with the sign height, it wouldn't be appropriate for the building itself. So not only are we improving the existing conditions, but I think we're doing justice to the new design of the facade itself. And from that perspective, I think there's a number of benefits to this application.
All right, do you want to address the standards of proof for C variance in the context of this application?
Sure, of course, as this board is aware, we have to prove the positive and negative criteria for a C2 variance. I think that this application's proposal could be granted under C2. As I noted, we actually completely conform to the overall size. It's just the height by 6 inches. So again, there's benefits there, and it's consistent with the zoning ordinance. The design of the sign, which I think the sign professional testified to or touched on, is that it is very similar to all the city medical MD sites and the Summit Health Group sites. So it basically is a well-established criteria and makes sense not only for consistency purposes for the branding of the operation, but also for the site itself. Again, we have the adjacent Kings, which has 47-inch lettering. We are well under that. According to that resolution of approval, which I know it wasn't this board, but they took into account the setbacks of the site, setbacks of the building, and its relationship to the turnpike. So I think we fall under that criteria. I don't believe that the detriments typically associated with the sign variance pertain to visual clutter and basically impact to the public road. The signs that we are proposing are interior to the site, and I don't believe that there's any detrimental impact to the public as a whole. It's truly for navigation of the patrons for the proposed use.
So Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so your opinion would be that the benefits substantially outweigh the detriments, is that correct?
I believe so. And
And that this would be a better zoning alternative for the property than a conforming sign, is that correct?
I believe so, and I think the board can see that in the exhibits that were provided by the sign expert.
Do you want to address the negative criteria briefly?
I just want to, I believe, as far as the positive criteria, I think there's two purposes that we further. Purpose A, to promote public welfare by providing a vacant space and bringing it back to an active use that's clearly visible from a wayfinding perspective. And then purpose G, basically to promote and facilitate appropriate uses in appropriate locations. Obviously, this is an appropriate location for this use. And so the client and all our experts have identified this and the signage as an appropriate design for this building. So Mr. Weiner, just to get back to your last question with regard to the negative criteria, I don't believe that there's any harm. Again, because of the setback, because it's internal to the site. And allowing this will allow the successful operation of these two uses in this location, which I think is appropriate. And it advances the purposes of the B2 criteria of the as highway commercial. So all that being said, I believe I've addressed both the positive and negative criteria, and this board has a right to grant the variance requested under that criteria.
Thank you. That's all I have for Ms. Bogart. I turn her over to the board for questioning.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for Ms. Bogart?
No, I have actually a comment.
Okay.
No, because they keep saying that they are reducing the size of the previous sign. And if I see the site, there is no sign. So I don't know why they keep saying that they are reducing the current sign. Right now it's empty, the space, so there is no signage there at all.
You mean the former use? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I would allow you
So
guys
they
to
are not
respond.
reducing anything. They are creating a new sign, signage there. It was just a comment.
Right. No, the point is taken, right, that you're speaking about the former use, not the current, because it's currently vacant.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, yes, of course.
yeah, okay. I appreciate that, Jorge. Other questions from Ms. Bogart? Ed, anything you wanted to?
No, I have none. I'm glad that she testified. She's the proper witness to be testifying as to those issues. So thank you, Mr. Weiner.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do any members of the public have questions for Ms. Bogart? If so, please go ahead and raise your hand at this time. Not seeing any at the moment. Okay, I invite you to continue, Mr. Weiner.
That's our case, Madam Chairwoman. So we're prepared to have the board consider this. I could make a few comments, but I think the board's very clear on what we're doing here. This is an upgrade for the building. It's there are good rationale why the sign's slightly bigger than the ordinance permits, and I think you've heard from our witnesses why that is, both from Mr. Fish and from Ms. Bogart. I think we easily meet the criteria for a C2 variance and for site plan in terms of the minor modifications to create what is a very good use wherever they go. These medical facilities are highly used, and City MD has been successful because it's such a need. So I think it will be a great improvement to take a vacant building and put it to excellent use with no detriments that I can see. So for those reasons, and based upon all the testimony presented, we would ask that the board grant the site plan and the sign variance.
Thank you. And I believe this is major preliminary and final site plan approval. That's what it is on the application. At least that I have.
I think that's correct. And just, Mr. Weiner, I know that I believe there was a request to waive the environmental impact statement based upon the fact that there was no site work actually being done other than what has been testified to tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're doing nothing else outside other than what the architect testified to.
Okay, so I think the board needs to deal with that issue for the record. And also, I noted that there were a number of waiver requests for checklist items that are really unnecessary. And I don't want to put words in Martha's mouth here, but I think that they're all of the waiver requests, checklist waiver requests were for items that were really not relevant to the type of application that we were hearing tonight. Is that correct, Martha?
Yes, that is correct. We unfortunately don't have a column for not applicable, so they asked for waivers for things that didn't apply or weren't necessary, and I just checked them off, recognizing that. So
okay, so I think the board, and I apologize for doing this as late as I'm doing it because I just
That's okay. That's why I brought it up.
I think we need to formally have a motion to grant the checklist waivers that the engineer has noted on the checklist. Let's do that. And if you want to do the EIS as part of that, we can do that as well.
Okay, does anybody make a motion to approve continuing with the application and granting the checklist waivers?
I will make a motion. Okay. James, I will second
Eileen,
that.
Okay, I will make it and Miriam can second it, Eileen.
Does that include the EIS, or we're going to do that separately?
Yes, inclusive of the
EIS. Okay, thank you.
Do we need an all in favor? We need a roll call.
No, I think we need a roll call vote on that, Eileen.
Daniel Bear,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Yes.
Mark Matzel,
Yes.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Sanjeev Nayak,
Yes.
David Morrow,
Yes.
Miriam Salerno,
Yes.
Beth Zoll.
Yes. Okay, now that we are comfortable moving forward with the checklist waiver request, does anybody make a motion on this application for any approvals? For approval as such. Were there any conditions, Ed, that we added in addition, that we discussed in addition to the standard?
No, I did not note anything. The motion would be to grant preliminary and final site plan approval. And furthermore, to grant the variance for the lettering of the signs on site as testified to.
Does anybody move to approve tonight's application?
I will move to approve the application.
I'll second.
Daniel Bear,
Yes.
Gaston Halbert,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro Pietro,
Yes.
Mark Matzel,
I just one question. I thought I had my hand raised. Maybe I didn't.
I apologize, Mark, if I didn't call you. Go ahead.
I just want, I had a question, clarification about the HVAC system and about bipolar ionization. and
Yes.
they did get back. So I don't know how
So I believe they agreed, and this would be captured in the memorialization, and that they have agreed to, the applicant has agreed to coordinate with their landlord and explore whether it's possible to address the ventilation in a more aggressive manner, I guess, is the to the code in which you specified.
That was an ionization system, Mr. Matzel, that you referred to, I think.
bipolar ionization, yes, that would be, integrated into the HVAC system.
Okay, I can include that as a condition that they will look into that with the landlord. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I assume the votes that have been taken already, which were Mr. Mastro Pietro, Mr. Halpert, and Mr. Bear, with those, your votes would remain the same with those conditions. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Eileen? I guess.
So Mark, did I get a yes?
Yeah, that's yes with that
Oh,
condition.
okay.
Thank you.
Maggie Miggins,
Yes.
Sanjeev Nayak,
Yes.
David Morrow,
Yes.
Miriam Salerno,
Yes.
that's all.
Yes. Thank you all, and apologies, Mark, to you for not catching your hand. That was my fault. Thank you to the applicant. Congratulations. We look forward to having your Summit Health facility in town.
Thank you very much, board members. Appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. Our next meeting, we have no other items, and our next meeting is scheduled. It doesn't say on here. October
Our
what?
next meeting is October 6th. Currently, I don't have anything on the agenda.
Okay. Well, let's maintain it for the 6th in case there are any ordinances, other things that come up.
There may be.
Fantastic. So we'll hold the 6th, and if that is canceled, it will be noticed appropriately.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to end this meeting.
And a second?
Second.
I think David got it. All right. All approve? Meeting adjourned, 9:51 p.m. Good night, all.
Night.
Happy
Good
fall.
night.
Good night.